Hello there everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Good Game of Fun with me, THP, talking to you guys once again. It's been a while. I apologize for the lack of uploads. I've been working behind the scenes on bigger videos that take more time to make, and on top of that, I could be working on other stuff on the daily, but, most people don't watch them. And second of all, I've just been in a really strange place mentally where, I've been having a really hard time finding the motivation to A, do videos, and B, do just things in general. So as I was going through my Discord just to kind of get myself out of this funk, and by getting out of this funk, I mean just going onto the waifu Discord and just perving out, one of my viewers out there actually had a really good idea talking about a Senran Kagura 7 wishlist. If you guys don't know, Senran Kagura 7 is the latest and newest game coming out from Kenichiro Takaki and Marvelous. It is supposed to be like the big grand finale to all of the setup of all of the previous Senran Kagura games. It's supposed to be a big deal, brand new character models, and yeah, this might be Takaki's last hurrah before he officially leaves Marvelous and really isn't as highly involved in Senran Kagura as he normally is. So expectations are really high for this game, considering all the censorship stuff that's been happening recently. Then yeah, we're both worried and excited, hyped but concerned, and yeah, there are a lot of things in our mind over what we would love to see in the newest Senran Kagura game. And so they were asking in the Discord, man, it'd be a really good idea if THP made a video on this. And so, alright, cool, here I am. Here I am with another one of those new fangle-dangled opinions that the kids love to hear so much about on the internet. And again, because of what I said at the beginning, I might not be behaving in the way that I usually do, so apologies in advance if I end up looking a little weird in this video. I've just been feeling really stressed out and kind of lost in general, so just please bear with me. So for this video, I compiled a list of 5 things that I would personally want to see in Senran Kagura 7. Some of these things you guys have already heard about before, some of these are entirely new. So let's go ahead and dig straight into it. So the first thing on the list is the big elephant in the room, the most obvious thing that I would want to see fixed, and that's better DLC. Now, what's a good example of better DLC? It's not good to just say, oh, make it better, do it good, and then not really explain or give an example of what I would like, right? Well, the perfect example is one of the games that are within the series. It's not even something that's totally unrelated. Senran Kagura 2. Deep Crimson on 3DS is, in my opinion, the best Senran Kagura game out of all of them, by far, period. And one of the big reasons for why it's so good is because they handle DLC very, very well. Instead of nickeling and diming you with these very microtransaction-y types of DLC where you get like $1.99 for this one little piece of clothing, or 99 cents for this piece of, hairstyle or something like that, just small little meaningless things for a small price, just drip feeding you bit by bit, or sometimes giving you like such an enormity of DLC that it might be better to just get it on a bundle pack, and even then the bundle pack sometimes will be more expensive than the game itself. And on top of that, if you go through multiple games, there are many of them that have the same DLC repeated throughout multiple games, and they keep charging you. There's no discount, or the vast majority of the games don't transfer over DLC. There's a few of them that do, but most of them don't. And I've never really been happy with how they handle DLC right now. The modern industry has kind of infected the series in that aspect negatively. And the only way that I can see them doing this better is by doing what they did in Deep Crimson, which is to have expansion packs. I forget how much they costed. I think it was like $10 to $15 per expansion pack. They had like 4 of them. And what I really loved is that they gave you a little bit of everything with every single expansion. You got new story levels with dialogue and everything. A lot of these expansion packs completely changed the way that you play the game. You had the chibi characters, you had like a side-scroller shoot-'em-up type of levels that had a lot of comedy bits, and they had their own little illustrations, some parts of the story that were really, really cool to see. You got new clothing, new customizable weapons, and you can even have a brand new playable character if you had the save data for the previous 3DS game. And if not, you could buy it as DLC for a relatively cheap price. And all of this is just in one expansion pack, If Deep Crimson was made today in 2019, they would have been like, oh, get these boots for 99 cents. Get this clothing for 99 cents. Oh, get this weapon for $1.99. They would have done it like that, and that would have been so off-putting. I would have never enjoyed any of the things that they have in Deep Crimson in these expansion packs. You can just pay a set amount of money that gives you a little bit of everything instead of, these companies like to kind of, finesse you and be like, oh, we're giving you options. We're letting you decide what you want to buy and what you don't want to buy. But what they don't tell you is that you actually end up spending more money by buying everything individually as opposed to everything in one bundle pack. And on top of that, I don't think it is their place to decide whether I want something or not. I think I'd rather just have them give me the thing. And if I don't want to use something, then I just don't use it, as opposed to like taking it away from the game and then me having to pay for me to get it and then see if I want it. Like, I don't know, just it's confusing. The current Senran Kagura DLC practice has to go. If they're gonna do this big grand finale awesome game in Senran Kagura 7, just the simple fact that they're putting a number at the end of it, that implies, okay, this is the follow-up to everything that we have had so far, both main game and spin-off. The best way to do it is if they just do away with any of that microtransaction-y stuff, and I know that realistically that's never gonna happen, but I'm still holding out hope. They did it once, they can do it again. Give us more value, make it worth it. Especially with really niche games like these where it's tough enough to already get a really massive audience. Like, try to build goodwill with the fan base that you already have, give them a reason to stay, as opposed to like being the same as the modern industries that are already pretty unpopular as they are because they're doing the same thing that you're doing. By having paid expansions that give you a little bit of everything every time you buy something, you just end up looking so much better, and you end up looking more distinct and special and worth the money, as opposed to other AAA companies that take advantage of their consumers by nickeling and diming them for everything. So the second thing that I have on the list is a very simple one, very brief. That's aerial ninja art. In both the 3DS games, Burst and Deep Crimson, you had something where you could be jumping in the air and activate, with the button commands for a ninja art. Usually you do those on the ground. There's usually 3 different ones, a weak one, a heavy one, and an ultimate one. And you could also do one in the air in the 3DS games that were original, really cool to see, visually appealing ninja arts. And those are abilities that you don't really see in any of the future games anymore. That's a feature that just kind of disappeared. And I thought it was really cool. And when you have these action games that is all about the action and playing as these many characters, and if you're going to expand upon what you already have, then don't take away, keep layering on top of what you already have. And taking away the aerial ninja arts, to me, is such a really strange and bad move. Especially now when, the fanbase keeps playing these action games and all of the characters are kind of the same. They have small tweaks to them, but overall, from Shinobi versus Tuastival versus, that was the biggest change, and then after that, everything just kind of feels very samey. So if you really want to wow us in Senran Kagura 7, you gotta A, bring back the aerial ninja arts, and B, maybe do something a little bit more with the ninja arts. Have like a setup or a loadout where all of these different characters have different abilities that you can attach to the buttons, as opposed to a set moveset that you can't change. Considering how we have a Senran Kagura New Link, this mobile game that whenever there's a brand new banner, a brand new set of cards that come out, it always comes with, the character model with that outfit, having a whole bunch of different abilities. If you go on the Senran Kagura, the Senran International Academy Twitter account, they always post videos of what these new characters and these new outfits tend to do. And it's always these really cool animations that only exist in the mobile game, and I wish that they transition even a little bit of that onto Senran Kagura 7. I feel like there's all some really cool moves that you can attach to, okay, I'll have, this setup of abilities for these buttons, and I can have a template where I can switch it out for these other things. Just adding more attacks instead of giving us the same that we've always had, I think would be a really good move and will make the characters more interesting and give us a bigger reason to use different characters more often, as opposed to just sticking with one, or just, really getting bored with one particular character because they're too slow and they only have this ability that doesn't work. But hey, we already have so many of them in the mobile game, so just move a lot of that over here and then let us customize our moves accordingly, plus the aerial ones that I would love to see. The third thing that I would like to see in Senran Kagura 7 is co-op abilities and attacks. In Senran Kagura 2 Deep Crimson, again, I know I'm referencing this game a lot, but hey, #1 game, that's the gold standard for me, and for me, Senran Kagura 7 is not going to be good unless it surpasses that. And one of the big things that makes Deep Crimson stand out is that obviously all of the girls have like their rival equivalent in the story, and that's definitely including the girls from Shinobi versus and Estival versus, you know, with New Heavy Joe and the Guessing girls. And considering how Yumi and a lot of the Guessing characters are almost like the poster girls of Senran Kagura now, as opposed to Asuka and the Hanzo girls, I would love to see them have their own co-op abilities. We have only seen Hanzo and the Crimson Squad sort of interact and combine one character with the other and see their little character quirks, like Yomi and Hikage when they have their ability, when Yomi just keeps talking infinitely about bean sprouts to Hikage, and Hikage just there blankly staring, listening, probably not even paying attention. Ikaruga with Katsuragi, Rin fused with Daidoji, Asuka and Homura. There's a lot of really awesome ones and a lot of really funny ones as well. And considering how well we know the characters now from Shinobi versus and Estival versus, I would love to see something like, I don't know, Hikage and Imu, Miyabi and Imu. See Ryobi and Riona have a co-op ability. Seeing all of the leaders, right? You know, Homura and Miyabi doing something, Yumi and Asuka doing something. I don't know, maybe like Sayuri and Asuka, you know, her and her grandmother having this special attack together. I feel like this can open Pandora's box to some awesome cutscenes, some awesome abilities that we can have. In Estival versus, you do have some co-op characters following you around, but you can't control it with another player. It's just an AI that kind of serves as a meat shield to distract the enemies, and then they kind of just die and fall over, and that's kind of it. They don't really do anything with it. So I would like it if you could, A, have a second player play with you when you're playing Senran Kagura 7, both offline and online. I'm pretty sure in the 3DS game, you could play with other people co-op online like it's nothing, and it's really odd that they don't have that integration in the modern PlayStation 4 games. I would love to be able to have some sort of co-op thing, at the very least with 2 people, and of course, having those really awesome ninja arts happen. It would make really good use of the characters, so it would force you to use a huge variety of different characters since you'd be using 2. Being able to switch from one to the other very quickly, you think that the PS4 could be able to do that, but it doesn't. On 3DS, you can do it just fine with 60 FPS and everything. So I don't see why they would not do it on PS4 and, you know, keep building on top of that. And if you have DLC characters coming up with, you know, considering Estival versus, PBS, New Link, I'm pretty sure there's going to be more crossover stuff coming up. I would love it if they had their own co-op, you know, crossover attacks or anything like that, like the Ikitosen characters, knowing that there's 3 of them, and, you know, the Valkyrie Drive characters, or Neptunia. I feel like the possibilities are endless. It's all a matter of Marvelous and Takaki, you know, having the creativity and the drive to do it, you know? The fourth thing that I would want to see in Senran Kagura 7 is better fighting mechanics. Ever since they upgraded the graphics from Shinobi versus to Estival versus, the games have been so sloppy. I mean, the fighting is just really slow. It seems like the game really favors the animations of the characters, just having them look all nice and doing awesome poses and stuff, as opposed to having the game be responsive and tight in its control scheme. I was playing not too long ago Senran Kagura Shinobi versus on PC during a live stream, and I forgot how good that game feels. And I do mean the PC version specifically, because when you play it on Vita, it's at a lower frame rate and it doesn't run as well. And that one, you know, in itself did run fairly decently. It really wasn't too bad. But when playing it on PC at 1080p at 60 frames per second with an Xbox 360 controller as opposed to the Vita controls, the game is so much more responsive. It is lightning fast. It honestly feels like I'm playing Deep Crimson again, you know? It feels like, you know, when you have a Smash Brothers player that is playing Brawl and then they go back to Melee and is like, oh yeah, you know? That's how it feels, you know? Deep Crimson and Shinobi versus are kind of like me playing Melee, right? And it's like, God, why can't all of these games be as tight and responsive and fast? Well, I don't know why. I mean, I always see these really long recovery animations, the game being very slow, a lot of these characters being very slow. They have been fixing this little by little in Senran Kagura Burst Renewal. They made some characters a little faster. Yozakura's a little faster. Yomi's a little faster. All of the really heavy characters have been gotten tweaked so that they are more responsive or more fun to play. But at the same time, I still feel like it's severely lacking in many aspects. they give you that combo tree, you know, as a way to be like, oh, look at all these combos that you can do when it's literally just square, 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 and occasionally do triangle. Now, I'm not expecting this game to be revamped and be like freaking Bloodborne or Dark Souls or something super complex, you know? I just want to be able to do a little bit more with the combat, or, you know, to make that combo tree actually make sense, you know? To be able to do something a bit more intricate. I was actually entertaining the idea of fighting game controls. You know, still have like the 3D rendered stuff, but have some of your ninja arts or your attacks activate like a quarter circle, you know, like a Hadouken or something like that, you know? Some sort of button combination that you can do in order to make more attacks. If you're not gonna let us use more ninja arts, then maybe you can integrate them into different types of commands. Now, Kenichiro Takaki, the creator of Senran Kagura, really loves to take different genres and oversimplify them to the point that it is actually detrimental. I feel like a lot of the spin-offs, you know, PBS is a third-person shooter, Peach Ball is a pinball game. I feel like the vast majority of all of those spin-offs could be really, really good if it weren't for the fact that Takaki has this obsession with oversimplifying something. And so the games end up feeling really empty and boring and mediocre. I feel like this simplicity is actually damaging Senran Kagura as opposed to helping it, you know? The games are already pretty niche as it is, right? It's not like the mechanics were unwelcoming. It's usually the sexual content that's the thing that it kind of drives people away. And so, if they want to appeal to a larger audience, it's not the game that has to get toned down. I'd say is the sexual content, but at the same time, I don't want the sexual content to be toned down, right? I like it just the way that it is. So I feel like they should just tailor it to the players, to the fans that already love these games as is, right? So I think they should improve the mechanics. They should make it faster. They should make it more responsive. They should take advantage of the fact that you can do like cutscene-like you know, cinematics with all of the attacks and stuff. How well integrated they are with the environment as opposed to Shinobi Versus, where it's like its own separate little cutscene in some other dimension where they was undubbed. And again, this can go back to the co-op stuff. You know, maybe if you have certain characters combined with each other, there can be certain attacks that can be activated. This kind of reminds me of the Simpsons arcade game when you have certain characters standing next to each other and then they do a special attack where they roll over enemies and stuff like that. I think that would be really, really fun. But overall, if just like the bare mechanics of the game, the fighting, the attacking, the recoveries, the jumping, the dodging, how fast and tight it feels when you're controlling it, I feel like that will do nothing but help the Senran Kagura series by making these games more complex and more free to be able to be creative with the controls, as opposed to limiting you more and more and more and more with every single game and making them slower and less fun to play. And this is coming from a guy who has spent hundreds of hours playing Senran Kagura, so I know how those games feel. I know which ones I like and which ones I don't. And it's those older ones, Deep Crimson and Shinobi Versus, that really do it well. And there's the newer ones like Estival Versus, Burst Renewal, and even PBS that are very much lacking. Hopefully with these completely revamped character models, they can also completely revamp the mechanics of the combat. Oh, and if Marvelous could make a 2D fighting game with Senran Kagura characters on it, I would love you forever and buy that day one, just saying. And the last and final thing number 5 that I want to see on Senran Kagura 7 is more awesome DLC characters. I kind of alluded to this in a previous video that I made called ranking the male Senran Kagura characters, and in there I commented how I would love to see these really cool male characters in Senran Kagura be playable in Senran Kagura 7. You already have Murasame playable in Deep Crimson, and he was pretty fun on his own, but I feel like we have built up all of these main characters so much. Kiriya, Kurakage, Hanzo, even Dogen. I feel like all of these people, even though I know that Senran Kagura is mostly about the girls, all of the male characters that have been in there have also proven themselves to be pretty awesome. And they've been hyped up and built up to the point where I would love to get my hands on them and actually play as them. Even if it's non-canon, you know, you have all of these crossover characters like Supersonico, Hyperdimension Neptunia, the Valkyrie Drive characters. They really have no place in the story. Even in Estival Versus, you know, you have Ayame, you have Kagura, Naruto, the Ikitosen characters. None of them fit into the story. They don't even have their own side stories, which I'm going to get to into a second. So I don't think it'd be a bad thing if they added, Kurakage with a little halo on his head and be like, hey, I'm here to fight, and you can play as him. Dogen from Deep Crimson, have the super over-the-top design and then transform into a Yoma. I think that'd be awesome. I've already said that in a previous video, but if you want to really have the DLC characters be worth the money, I will love it if you gave us, like, a set of just, like, all of the male characters and just bring them in here, including Murasame. I think that'd be really cool. And on top of that, as I was saying, all of the previous female DLC characters, all the crossover stuff, has essentially turned Senran Kagura into like this Super Smash Brothers type of game, but with sexy anime characters. And I love it. I would absolutely love it if this was like Captain America Civil War, right? Where it's technically about Captain America, but it's also about all of the other characters that are in here as well, right? I would love to see Senran Kagura. But if you could find some way to bring as many sexy characters as possible, like Arcana Heart, Hyperdimension Neptunia, Ikitozen, Dead or Alive, Supersonico, Valkyrie Drive, that's already like 6 different properties. So, yeah, the more you can bring in, the better. And on top of that, if you can create special missions for them, you know how you have these Shinobi Girls' Hearts, those special side stories that just give you a little glimpse into some comedy bit or some special thing that was made for all the characters. Usually all the regular Senran Kagura characters have it, but none of the DLC characters have one. And considering how, there's characters like Ayame that I really like a lot, or even the Ikitosen characters, seeing how they're voice acted and stuff and how they're brought back, I think is really cool. I would love it if they had at least, a couple of missions through DLC or something. It comes included with the character or something. I would love to see something like that, because I feel like it'd be such a waste to put so much work in a character and then not do something story-wise with them. And again, I'm not saying to make them a part of the canon and make them participate. I'm just saying, if you can just write some comedy bit or some, 5-level side story that you can make with them, or they cross over with other Senran Kagura characters and really make them have a conversation with them, even if it is just, a short, stupid little comedy bit, I think that'd be good. I think it'd be awesome. In Estival Versus, you already have DLC missions that you can download for the characters that do expand a little bit on the lore and on the story. Some of them, again, are also comedy bits. Some of them reference back to an OVA that was made a long time ago. So, yeah, man. Their imagination is the limit at this point. And, of course, the big business of, making sure they're worth the money, which is why they probably won't do it. And there we go. With that said, those are the 5 things that I would like to see in Senran Kagura 7. I'm very cautiously optimistic about this game, obviously because of the censorship problems and the fact that this game, as far as we know, is going to be PS4 exclusive. That leaves me very worried with all the stuff that's going to be taken out of the game, all the stuff that's going to be changed, that we don't even know what's being changed, right? Because of all the controversy, I guess developers are just redesigning their games from the ground up, so that us as the audience, we don't even know what's getting taken out, so we really don't know what to complain about. It just kind of leaves you wondering what game we could have had Sony not, backstabbed the entirety of the anime community and just crack down on the sexual content to the point that the cocky left Marvelous. But at this point, I'm really focusing on the game itself, the mechanics, what abilities are available, how creative they can get with these characters that we already know very well, that we love so much, with or without the fan service. Senran Kagura 2 is the #1 greatest Senran Kagura game, and that one doesn't even have a whole lot of fan service. I mean, the clothes ripping goes as far as the underwear, and that's it. You don't have any of these like full nudity segments like all of the newer ones, like all the newer games have. The whole reason for why they went so far with the sexual content on the PlayStation games was because they were allowed to do it, because Nintendo at the time were very prudish and they're like, no, you can't do that, so they didn't really take it too far. But now, it's the other way around, so who knows? Maybe one day we'll get Senran Kagura 7 or all of the older games on Switch, and I don't know. Maybe future games will be able to push the envelope more on Switch as opposed to PS4, which is kind of upsetting. And on Steam as well, I guess. But anyway, I'm not going to get on that rant all over again. We've talked about that a million times. I just want the game to be good. I just want it to be really good. I want the story to have a satisfying ending. I want all of the girls to be in here, totally revamped. I would love it if Marvelous kept, drip feeding us with more teasers. We've only had 2 teaser trailers, and both of them were kind of identical. And we've only had a couple of screenshots of the revamped Asuka character model, and that's it. I will love it if they showed us at least, like once a month or once every few weeks, the pictures, you know, like the wireframes for, say, Katsuragi or Homura or Ikariga or whatever, you know? Just to let us know that they're still working on this. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the game. I'm hoping that they really take the feedback to heart, that they really think about making a good game first and then a money-grubbing cash cow later, you know? Because if people were not buying the DLC at all, they wouldn't continue to sell it to you. And hopefully they follow by example from a game that they themselves made, and they actually make more DLC and better mechanics and just a lot of things that are worth the money, you know, as opposed to missing out on a lot of content because most of it is a 99-cent or 1.99 microtransaction. So, you know, the game is selling you the same flesh-colored balloons throughout, so yeah, please, I really wish that they would stop that. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, you guys know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will see you guys next time with some more videos, if I ever feel the motivation to make them again. I don't want to scare you guys. No, it's not like that. I'm just a little stressed out right now. I just gotta get my life together, and then I'll be back in full force. And I'm still working on bigger videos. I'm just trying to, like, you know, get used to actually committing to something in the long term, because I'm used to making stuff on the daily, making stuff fast and easy, and now it's not like that anymore, so it's taking me some time to kind of adjust and transition. Going back to my roots, ironically. So yeah, see you guys next time. Bye-bye.